Hi everybody, Allie here. Today I'm going to be coloring up this cute little card that is a light up card for Chibitronics, but I thought I would share my coloring process with you. We are going to start by actually coloring up a single goldfish, because there's three, they're all identical, and use all the same colors. So let's get started here. We're starting with a color base of Y00. I'm starting to basically make my paper wet. I want to make that paper receptive to the ink. So therefore I am coloring in a base color and getting the paper ready to go for blending. For Copic markers, all the blending happens within the fibers of the paper. So the more ink you have in, the better your chance of blending your colors together. We're going to go in with an E51 and just kind of warm up that yellow a little bit. This is a creamier white color, and we're just adding it to any place where we're kind of starting shadows and where we're going to darken in some of those colors. There we go. And now we're going to come in with a B60, and I'm going to use this to kind of patch in that kind of purpley blue color that sometimes you see in a goldfish. It's kind of a silvery reflective area of a fish, so that's what we're kind of laying down color for. Next I'm going to come in with our BV31. We're going to add a little bit more purpley depth. I'm not using a smooth technique, and that's where my C00 comes in, where I'm going to smooth out that purpley gray patch. I'm just basically pushing ink back into the paper. Alright, let's add some yellows to our goldfish. This is the lightest of Y15. I'm going to basically lay down that golden color. I'm trying to leave a little bit of that very, very light Y00. I want it to be almost like a bounced light, so I'm leaving the edges that very, very light yellow. I'm going to go in and cross over a little bit of that purpley area, and now we're going to go and deepen some of our oranges with a Y38. I'm going into a lot of the details in the fins and just kind of stretching out those lines. We're also going to go in and darken some of his body as well. We're going to go underneath his eye, all the way around it, and we're going to add more of that orangey color into that bright yellow. Again, we are going to come back and blend this, so even though it looks kind of choppy and there's lots of kind of lines built in there, we are going to go in and blend it. Now we're going to bring in a YR07. We're going to, again, go through those kind of orangey areas and bring in that deeper, darker orangey red. We're going to go into the depths of the fins and mimic those striations on the fins. There we go. Don't forget the other two little fellers on the bottom. There we go, just extrapolating that color. Okay, we're going back to our lightest, our Y15, and we're going over everything to blend all of those oranges and yellows together. So since I've maintained that outer edge of a light yellow, it's stayed a light yellow because I haven't gone over with those orangey colors. So therefore, it looks like there's kind of a glow around the edges. Again, we're just blending those two colors together. We're coming in with that even lighter yellow that we started with, our Y00, and giving anything that we want to kind of push back a couple of coats of that light yellow. And there she is. We're going to take one more marker and we're going to add a little bit of texture to his body. There we go. Just to mimic his scales. Now, because his fins are translucent, we're going to take our, I believe this is a B60. I forgot to put the cap down. and just go over top of those see-through fins, and this will just help push them back. And with the basically the same color as our background there, it pushes them kind of behind and makes it look like there's a little bit more water over top. And there we go. Next on, we're going to work on our mermaid. We're going to start with her tail. Her tail is going to be the thing that takes the longest. We're going to start with BG99, and we're going to start with our deepest, darkest color. Now, I'm not doing a stroke, I'm actually doing a stippling, and we're going to make her tail look like it's got some texture or some scales. So I'm just taking the point, going up and down with the point of my marker, and just adding a few dots of color. We're going to go to a little bit lighter green this time, a G28, and I'm going to go in between those previous dots, and we're also going to pull more dots over towards the right hand side. So the dark part of her bottom is on the left, and then the light reflecting part is on the right. So all of our darker colors are going to be pretty much concentrated on that left side, but we are going to pull colors over and across her abdomen or her tail. Okay, we're switching to a G19 again. This is a brighter green. We are going to go in and add dots all throughout the previous dots, not only to blend, but to also change the color over as we go to the right, and it gets brighter and brighter. So again, we're just doing some quick dots across her body there to mimic good old scales. And you can go big and small and change up the size of all of those dots. All right, we're going to go even lighter green, G09. And I'm going across even the darkest part of her body there because I want to spread out the green colors right across her entire body. Because as the light reflects on different aspects of her scales, she's going to have different colors reflect back. So we're drawing that G09 right across the body, almost to the edge, because it's almost the brightest green that we're going to use. And again, we're using a stipple motion, and we're going to come in with a YG07. So this has a lot more yellow in it. It's a little bit brighter. Again, I'm taking it right across her whole entire body there. We're going in and blending the dots together, and also adding some of that brighter green right across her entire body. So as you can tell, the back side of her body is much darker than the front side. Again, just adding those dots over top of one another randomly. Don't do lines. It doesn't look natural. You want to kind of do them all over the place, big, small. And now we're going to bring in our very lightest color, a YG03. So this one, again, has even more yellow. It's a little bit brighter. So I went down the back side of her bottom, which is a reflective surface. So it got a full dose of YG03. We're going to pull it right across the front too on all of that white gap. And again, we're going to pull that YG03 dots right into the front side of her tail. Now, I wasn't quite happy with the amount of shading, so I went in with my G28 and pulled a little bit more dark dot into the rest of her body. I wanted to pull it a little bit farther towards the front, and so I'm doing some, again, more random dots with that G28. And we're going to do the same thing with a little bit lighter, our G19. We're going to pull it across as well to go in between those previous dark marks that we pulled back across our body. And that's the nice thing about Copics, they're transparent. So you can just build and build and build. Sometimes it's easier to start light and move to the dark, and sometimes it's easier to go the opposite way. You do you. And now we're going to go to the fins of her body. We're going to bring in a grayed out green, which is our BG93. So I'm just going to go over those fin details that Amy has drawn on her images. And we're going to just put a base coat of the BG93 down to start, because we are going to blend out this area for sure. I'm just trying to extrapolate any of those fin details or lines with that color. We're going to go bright YG07. I want to make her fins a slightly different color than her body. I want them to kind of stand out. So we're just going right over that BG93. There we go. Following a lot of those lines and just making them a little bit fatter. And also blending them back into the paper. There we go. Onto the upper fin. And of course you can put as many layers as you want with colors. We're also going to take our lightest, our YG03, and just take out any of the white that is left on her tail. It would have looked fine with the white detail left, but I thought, well, we'll make her fins entirely green. So our lightest and brightest is left to last. And I'm just feathering it back into the detail of her fin. You can do it either way. You can draw it from dark to light or light to dark, doesn't matter. Now, when I masked off this background, there were a few little teeny little gaps. So I'm taking the closest blue I can find, a BG57, and just going around the image and seeing if I can find any of those little white gaps. And I'm just taking them out with that color. There we go. One more up by her hair. And it just helps get rid of those white gaps. On to the skin of our Little Mermaid. We're going with kind of a weird color this time. This is a V15. It's a very rich purple. Sometimes if you want some pretty drastic shadows, going into the purples first kind of helps lay down that shadow color. And once you put your browns and neutrals over top, it really doesn't look purple anymore. So don't be afraid to experiment with your purple hues to get those very, very stark shadows. All right, going in with our darkest brown, our E35. So I'm going literally over every single purple item. We're mapping out anywhere where those deep dark shadows are going to be. So I'm going in under her arm, down her back, where her hair kind of pulls over her face, above her eyes, building in some cheekbones, around her nose, a little teeny bit on her chin. And we're going to now start blending with our E31. And I'm going over all two of those colors. So I'm taking this right out and across those browns. We're going to take E31 and pretty much get rid of every single white space on her face and her body, because we want her to have a little bit of a darker complexion. And the more times you go over, the more times you're going to add color. So I'm going in and just adding a little bit deeper color just by using the same E31 again and again. Okay, there's quite a difference between the E35, which is our darker brown, and our E31. So I'm using the tip to tip method to make myself an in-betweeny color. So by using the lighter marker and touching it tip to tip with my darker color, I'm going to make a color that is in between the two of them. And this will just help blend things a little bit better so that that starkness of the shadow isn't so in your face. This gives you, again, that second color. Let's put a little blush into her. Sometimes I go over parts of her body that you wouldn't think need a little pink, but my R12 does a really good job of just adding that little bit of warmth to the skin without making it too pink. And last of all, we're going to go in and do her beautiful hair. So we're going to start with our darkest, our R59. This is a very, very dark marker. So you have to be very careful with where you put it. Reds like to do naughty things with paper. So be very deliberate on where you put your dark reds. You cannot kind of back off of them, and you can't get rid of them using your blender solution. So be very careful. All right, onto our mid-tone red, which in this case is an R46. We're going to go in and basically make those darker red lines fatter. And we're going to try and work with the information that Amy has put on our images as to the direction of hair. So it's kind of being swept up over top of her head and comes down, kind of flows over the left side of her face and comes out from behind. So Amy is telling us exactly the way the hair is and where we're going to put our highlights and our shadows. So we're going to go in and work with that information. We're going to put a little bit of our mid-tone, our R46, over top as well. And we're going to work with the information that the image is giving us. I'm trying to maintain the same curvature of the lines that I make with the hair. You'll just get better color and directionality with your lines. All right, last but not least, our lowest hour marker, which is going to be an R35. This is a nice, very kind of pinky red. It's pretty. And we're going to take out the majority of the hair with this color, making sure to leave a tiny little bit of white because it's our brightest and our most reflective aspect. Just making sure that we leave what we want. And sorry, we're going to go in with one last color, our R32, and we're going to take out all that white. So this is where you don't have to be super picky about your direction. Just fill in those gaps. We're going to put a tiny bit of color into her eyes, YG03. And then we're going to come in with a little bit darker green, or sorry, a lighter green, a YG01, and just fill in the rest of our irises. And here's our card. 3 cute little goldfish and our sweet little mermaid. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate your time, and make sure to go over to the Chibitronics blog and check out how I lit this card up. Have a great day, guys.